Tonight, Ontario's police watchdog is investigating an incident where a Tyendinaga Mohawk woman was trampled.
There's condos that are going up. There's a space in the park where there are a lot of Indigenous people. They're getting forced out.
Some students in Montreal have a new way of dealing with an age-old problem.
They get to choose one that inspires them or that they want to advocate for, and that's something that they get to write their original song around.
And a contest encourages students to learn computer coding with a little help from some musical friends. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Ontario's police watchdog unit is investigating an incident where a woman from Tyendinaga Mohawk territory was trampled by a horse at the Ottawa protest.
This is what we're doing it for, so they all can have peace and love and happiness. Peace, love, happiness.
Right after that, the 49-year-old woman who uses a walker was run over by Toronto Police Service's horses that rolled through the crowd. Onlookers were heard yelling at police to stop.
Stand down! Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Look what you did! Look what you did to her! Look what you did to her! Look what you did to her! You trampled on the lady who was inaccessible!
The video was posted to YouTube and watched 34,000 times. The woman has been interviewed by the Special Investigations Unit. They say she sustained serious injuries. Her family in social media posts said that includes a broken collarbone. But she does not want to speak to media right now, according to her family. APTN isn't naming her. The federal government has revoked the Emergencies Act. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made the announcement in Ottawa late this afternoon. The Liberal government invoked the act last week in response to illegal blockades at the American borders in Windsor, Ontario, and Coutts, Alberta, and the 3-week occupation of Ottawa's downtown core by these freedom protesters. In line with the feds, Ontario Premier Doug Ford also terminated a state of emergency Wednesday afternoon. Meanwhile, Trudeau explained that the act is no longer necessary.
But the acute emergency that gave rise to the invocation of the Emergencies Act 10 days ago, that there were occupations so solidly implanted that the police didn't have the kind of resources or tools available to dislodge them, that emergency is now over.
RCMP are still investigating last week's coastal Gaslink drill site attack. Police have released 3 short videos hoping to identify who was involved. In a statement, Wet'suwet'en Hereditary Chiefs said they don't support violence on the territory. APTN's Lee Wilson has more.
I mean, one word is terrifying. Like, it was terrifying.
That's Trevor, a coastal Gaslink security worker, with what he saw on February 17th. CGL isn't saying who he is out of concerns for his safety. According to the company, 20 individuals attacked their drill site near the Maurice River, causing millions of dollars in damage.
You know, having somebody come at your window and they're trying to smash right here, right by my head with an axe, you know, it's pretty terrifying. Yeah.
Some of the images shared by CGL show the words "land back," CGL evict, spray painted on a damaged trailer. A company statement detailed the attack. Approximately 9 members of the Coastal Gaslink night shift workforce were victims of the attack. The attack began just after midnight, and our workers fled for their safety. Heavy equipment on site was commandeered and utilized to cause significant damage to other heavy equipment and trailers. A similar tactic has been used at previous blockades. They added that a school bus was used to block police response. In a press release this weekend, Wet'suwet'en Hereditary Chiefs said they don't have enough information to comment on the situation, but they are against violence in their territory. We don't support violence and see conflicts escalating across the Yinta and throughout Turtle Island. We ask you to keep your ceremonies, songs, drumming, and continue as the matter is being investigated, seeking the safety of all. The drill site has been at the heart of the ongoing conflict where the Wet'suwet'en Hereditary Chiefs opposed the Coastal Gaslink pipeline operations in their territory. The company says they have 20 signed agreements with elected bands along the route. and the 670-kilometer natural gas pipeline is 60% finished. The RCMP are still trying to figure out who the attackers are. Yesterday, they shared videos of the incident. They are now controlling access to the area. Our investigation remains ongoing, with the site awaiting for environmental analysis to be conducted from the damaged heavy machinery. Access to the area remains controlled at this time to ensure the safety of analysts and investigators and to preserve evidence at the scene. The RCMP say the attackers were all dressed the same, swung axes at vehicles, and fired off a suspected flare gun. No CGL workers were physically harmed. RCMP are asking for anyone with information to contact the Houston detachment. This morning, the Get 'em Done Access Point sent out a tweet saying they're being denied access up the Maurice Forest Service Road, that their rights have never been extinguished and their land has never been ceded. Get 'em Done Access Point is a Wet'suwet'en land reoccupation site near the 44-kilometer mark on the Forestry Road near Houston. Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
We want to hear what you think about that Coastal Gaslink incident. Here's how you can share your thoughts. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News, join the conversation, and see all of our latest stories. And in Saskatchewan, Ocean Man First Nation has signed a deal with the federal government meant to right a historic wrong. Ocean Man First Nation signed on to Treaty 4 back in 1875. They occupied the land until 1901. That's when Canada wrongfully amalgamated the First Nation with Pheasant Rump and White Bear First Nations, and the federal government stopped recognizing them as separate nations. Ocean Man Chief Connie Big Eagle says today's signing officially recognizes that their nation has existed since 1875.
It's very meaningful to Ocean Man because it's recognition that we never ceased to exist, that we were always treaty band with Treaty 4 territory, and it's a renewal of our treaty relationship with Canada.
Well, the wait is on to see whether the Quebec Superior Court will give a go-ahead for a proposed class action lawsuit alleging the federal and provincial governments have discriminated against and chronically underfunded Inuit children in the child welfare system. The statement of claim was filed by a trio of law firms earlier this week. Lindsay Richardson joins us to discuss. Lindsay, thanks so much for joining us. How many people are affected here and how far does this case reach?
Well, Melissa, this is technically a Quebec-specific application for class action affecting the Inuit living here in Quebec, but it could have far-reaching consequences, and that's because the statement of claim goes all the way back to 1975 for the signing of the James Bay and Northern Quebec Agreement, wherein it was decided that the provincial government and the federal government would share responsibilities when it came to financing child welfare services in the North. So according to this statement of claim, any child that was taken into the child welfare system since 1975 could be eligible for compensation, as well as their parents and caregiving grandparents, as well as anybody who may have been denied a service or could not access a service in the North because it was underfunded by one or both of these governments. So it is difficult to get updated statistics on how many Inuit children are in care today in 2022. But if we take it back to 2018, during testimony for the Bien Commission here in Quebec, the Director of Youth Protection overseeing the Nunavik region, it's estimated that about 1 in 3 Inuit children had come into contact with child welfare services. So we're not just talking about hundreds of potential claimants here. There could be thousands of people impacted by this class action if it is approved.
It's, huge to think of the scope of this going back that far. Obviously, a lot of people could be affected. This always takes 1 or 2 to initiate the process. What do we know about the plaintiffs in this case?
So there are 2 applicants who are listed on the statement of claim, both women, both from Nunavik. Lucy Tukaluk is one. She now lives in Umuyak. She was apprehended at birth and then later placed with a foster family where she alleges she was subjected to extensive physical and sexual abuse. The second applicant Tanya Jones. She now lives in Montreal. She was apprehended about the age of 3 and cycled in and out of about 10 different foster homes, also alleging that she was exposed to sexual and physical abuse during that time. Both women today in 2022 are still living with the repercussions of these experiences, and they say they're speaking out now on behalf of anybody else that's experienced something similar, and also to prevent these situations from continuing on from this, interrupting this cycle of intergenerational trauma that could continue playing out if the proper changes aren't made.
So what happens next?
Well, because the federal government is obviously named as a respondent in this application, we reached out to the Minister of Indigenous Services as well as the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations to see if they had a reaction. They say they're aware of the application and they're now consulting with their legal teams. As far as Quebec is concerned, we haven't had an on-the-record reaction. We did reach out to the lawyers representing the 2 applicants to see if they would speak to us more in depth about their experiences, and they're simply not ready yet. It's too sensitive. There's obviously a bit of a re-traumatization process and having to lay all these facts out and be deposed in a legal context. So it's a waiting game now. More stories will obviously come to light as this process plays out. And while there is not a set date for the Superior Court to either approve or turn down this class action application, we can say safely that the window will be about 60 days from the filing date, which was Tuesday of this week.
Perfect. Well, we will be checking back in with you as this progresses. Thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks, Melissa.
We need to take a break, but coming up, a new project in Montreal brings portraits to the streets.
Even for the people who live here, like where are the Mohawks? Where are the original inhabitants? Well, we're right there. And with this exhibition, it gives the opportunity to give it a face.
Boyle Street Community Services has been helping the homeless people in Edmonton for decades. Soon they will be able to help people get their status cards more easily. APTN's Chris Stewart explains.
Boyle Street Community Services has helped people access their Indian status cards since 2014. Now, a new agreement with Indigenous Services Canada makes that even easier. They can help fill out client paperwork, all without having Indigenous Services present or having the client visit government offices. Margaret Archibald is the agency manager for Boyle Street Community Services.
This new partnership is what we call a trusted source partnership, and that means that because of that lengthy relationship we've had with Indigenous Services Canada, we are now identified as a partner who they trust and have trained to actually begin to do the processing of the applications here on site without necessarily having the regional office staff present. But they are still a significant partner in the background.
Archibald says her organization is the first nonprofit in Alberta to become a trusted source by Indigenous Services Canada. People who visit Boyle Street can also access other ID, like birth certificates and health cards.
By coming to this location, they're going to get wraparound services as well, not just the ability to apply for status cards. And I think that's what's really vital here. And it also provides them with benefits like health care. If they need support in educational costs, they can also, dental, prescriptions, and also it allows them to use that card to do, travel across the border.
Indigenous Services Canada has provided extra funding to get this off the ground. Archibald says they have been a great partner.
I think that Indigenous Services Canada has really stepped up and has really reached out its arms to say, listen, we're proud of what you've done in the past for our community, for our Indigenous community, and we really want to support you in moving forward in this direction.
The program is expected to get started in mid-March. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Adult volunteers and high school students spent part of their weekend postering headshots of Indigenous people on buildings around Montreal. It's part of the Inside Out project. As Amelia Fournier reports, it showcases community concerns at an international level through public art.
Perfect. Look at you, you're a pro.
Naguset is already a familiar face in Montreal's community activism circles, and these Indigenous faces will soon be familiar to Montrealers across the city. Students from Mind High School are helping Naguset and the project's volunteers put up posters for a project entitled Indigenous Forced Displacement. Naguset says this uprooting of Indigenous people is ongoing.
Because I work in and around the Cabot Square area, there's condos that are going up, there's a space in the park where there are a lot of Indigenous people. They're getting forced out. And it's a real shame, right? And where are they going to go?
But she also says the posters show Indigenous perseverance.
We all know how many Indigenous people used to make up Canada and what the percentage is now. But I also wanted to have a project where it shows that we are thriving, that we're still here.
Autumn Godwin is a volunteer with the project and a member of the Montreal Lake Cree Nation. She's making sure her daughter Clara learns about her heritage. Autumn says her daughter was happy to be on one of the posters.
She's super excited, she sees all the work that I'm doing and she sees how passionate I am about everything, so I think she really gets into it, and she's, it's something that we didn't have growing up, so I think for her, I get to see it through her eyes too, so it's pretty cool.
The photos were taken by 3 Indigenous photographers, Craig Commanda of the Algonquin Nation, Vicky McDonald, who is a Ojibwe, and Martin Loft, a Mohawk of Ganawage. Loft photographed mostly Ganawage residents.
I especially like photographing the elders, because when you see them and you hear their voice, and if you've known them for a while, it's kind of like it's like home.
Martin Loft says while Ganawage is an established, prosperous Indigenous community, Montrealers can forget that the Mohawk community is so nearby.
In a sense, we never left, and you wouldn't think that if you just got off the plane and came into downtown Montreal, or even for the people who live here, where are the Mohawks? Where are the original inhabitants? Well, we're right there. And with this exhibition, it gives the opportunity to give it a face.
Despite the painful stories Indigenous displacement brings up, Naguset says the project was a positive experience.
Every photographer whose picture is here is thrilled to have it. The models are happy to be here. The people that are pasting are happy to be part of it. So, it's like you're the part of the problem or part of the solution, and this is part of the solution.
Emilia Fournier, APTN National News, Montreal.
Well, one more quick break, and when we come back, highlights from In Focus, where we talk to homegrown beaters from here who are heading to Paris Fashion Week, and an Ojibwe interior designer whose designs have been picked up by Urban Barn, that homeswear giant. And we'll also have this story. A new competition brings young voices to computer coding.
While students are engaging through this program and learning how to code, they're also learning about some of the injustices that Indigenous communities have faced here in Canada.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Thanks to Jennifer Duca for sharing this picture of her and her friend Trish out enjoying winter, feeding some wildlife in the West Hawk Lake area. That's just in the southeastern portion of Manitoba. You can send your photos to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Let's now take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. We've got -5 and cloud for St. John, sunshine and -6 in Fredericton. Cartwright -20 and snow. Kuujjuaq sunshine -28 degrees expected. Lots of sun in Quebec there. Sept-Îles is -10. Chibougamau -18. Sun continues down in southern Ontario. -7 for Ottawa. -9 for Sault Ste. Marie. You get lots of sun up north there too. -13 for Kapuskasing. -11 for Thunder Bay and Wawa. -19 and sunny for northern Manitoba there. Thompson and Norway House. Sunshine in southern Manitoba too. -20 is pretty much everywhere. Barons River, Princess Harbour, Gimli and Winnipeg. -16 and cloud for you. Saskatoon -20 and sunny for Regina. Sunshine in northern Saskatchewan. -19s for Uranium City and Stony Rapids. Sun and -7 for High Level. -6 and sunny in Grand Prairie. Here we get some cloud and some flurries. -7 for Edmonton, Red Deer, Calgary and Medicine Hat. 5 and sunshine for Campbell River. -5 and sunny for Quesnel. -5 for you also in Fort Nelson. Sunny skies there. Same with Prince George. -6 and sunny for Beaver Creek. Rock River mixes sun and cloud. -7. -7s for Fort Liard and Trout Lake. Sunny skies there. -16 and sunshine for Inuvik. Snow. -11 for Sax Harbor. Whale Cove, minus 27, and sunny New Yacht, minus 29. Clear skies there. Kenite, minus 27, and clear Arctic Bay, minus 32 and sunny. Paris Fashion Week Fall Winter 2022 kicks off on Monday, and a couple of Prairie girls and their assistants are headed there to show off their beadwork on the biggest of all fashion stages. We talked with them on In Focus this afternoon. Here's a clip.
At first, I was just doing it for myself, and while I was practicing, I started making pieces for friends of mine, and that just kind of got the ball rolling, because then more of my friends wanted pieces, and then their friends wanted pieces, and then I was like, I'm going to make a separate account, and it just kind of blew up from there. I am obsessed with Fashion Week. I love fashion shows. Project Runway is one of my favorite shows of all time. But I never in 1,000 trillion years could have ever imagined that I would participate in something like that. That to me was just so far out of my realm that there is no way that I could have even thought that this would be, you know, an option ever.
I actually used to wonder what it would be like. You know, to me in those days, it was unattainable. You know, it was something that I never even dreamed would happen, because, you know, you come off the res, you move to the city, and you just don't imagine that you could fit into these, you know, shows that you watch on television. And I used to run home at lunch, you know, from times when I would live in the city, I would run home at lunch just to go watch Fashion Week. I thought, I'm going to apply and I'm going to see what they say. And the worst they can say is no, you know, so I applied, and literally 2-3 days later, I got a response. I couldn't believe it. I submitted some photos of my work.
A Winnipeg-based Anishinaabe educator is helping lead the charge for teaching students the basics of computer coding while engaging in discussions about reconciliation. Launching today, Your Voice is Power is a national competition for middle and high school students. It's designed to teach fundamentals of computer science, entrepreneurship, and social justice. Students will create their own original songs using music from 3 Indigenous artists. They'll use EarSketch, a free online code editor available in English, French, Anishinaabe-Moan, and Inuktitut. Students will learn how music, computer science, and entrepreneurship can be tools to fight for social justice. The competition runs through May 31st. 2 winners will receive $5,000 for college or to start a business, and 1 teacher will receive $1,000.
While students are engaging through this program and learning how to code, they're also learning about some of the injustices that Indigenous communities have faced here in Canada. So we talk about residential schools, we talk about the 60s scoop, and ultimately students learn about the 94 calls to action, and they get to choose one that inspires them or that they want to advocate for, and that's something that they get to write their original song around.
That is your midweek national news. I highly recommend that you check out that In Focus episode online at aptnnews.ca/infocus, or you can watch it on APTN News Facebook channel or Facebook page. Also featured in that show is an Ojibwe interior designer who's launched a line with Urban Barn, the housewares giant. Destiny Seymour is her name. And full interviews with those beaters who are hitting the catwalk at Paris Fashion Week. You'll love to watch. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.